Say again. Hello. Okay, I guess I'm gonna X out of the, that maybe. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Then I'll just wait.
Hello, this is Frank Miller. You may text me at this number or leave a voice message after the tone. Aloha.
It's open. Call Chris Kelsey.
Sir, what's up?
You want to come on early?
Uh, um, I've been there.
Okay, say hi to him for me. Okay, bye. Well, there is the first.
Yeah, looks like we lost. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Looks like we lost a couple people, huh?
Huh?
We lost a couple people, Ron and Mitch.
Oh, I didn't know about Ron. Was there an
Yeah,
email from him?
yeah.
What did he say?
Just that he couldn't make it and he'd see us in October.
Well, that's not long from now. So,
No,
yeah, I talked to Mitch on the phone. Um, I hadn't seen Ron's message. I should have looked in the emails before I tuned in. I was kind of reviewing this stuff to talk about today. How's it going with you?
good. We had a death in the family. In fact, I might have to cut a jet out a little early myself tonight. My stepmom passed away 2 days ago.
Oh,
We're having a family gathering tonight to talk about it.
mm-hmm.
She was in her mid 80s and not very healthy.
Yeah. Um, there's Frank over there.
Hi,
Yeah,
Phil. Hi, Scott.
Frank.
I think I read a lot of obituaries, uh,
Yeah.
especially in the Seattle Times, and oftentimes much of the time I'm awed by what people have achieved, and it's always interesting for me to do that. On the other hand, I say probably most people die in their 70s, I would say, and of course I'm very health conscious, as you know, and kind of think
Yeah.
about it. And the way I look at it, because I know that is the way I look at it, the vast majority of my fellow humans, at least Americans, um, eat an unhealthy diet. And it's only the healthy diet that keeps us healthy. Um, and so it's interesting to me to be considering as I look at these obituaries, um, how long they're able to live with the unhealthy diet.
Hmm.
Um, and um, and then it just won't keep you alive any longer.
Hmm.
Um, and as you know, I see it as being the toxins in the diet,
Yeah.
and which accumulate in the cells, which accumulate in the organs, and it's like um, a stubbornness in a way, I guess, with humankind, or just a instinctually conditioned that they just can't not eat stuff that is processed
Well,
and
it's also trying to feed 8 billion people in the planet. It wasn't very long ago, there was only 1 billion people.
yeah, it's I mean, and of course a lot of people of course are under they're just under fed, I mean, because
Mhm.
around the world where they're just conditions
Yeah.
prohibit them from a lot. And, I think there was a time when the more rurally oriented people, and, or if they were at least had a quantitative enough food, everything that we address is quantitative and qualitative analysis.
Yeah.
Uh, when I was an undergraduate in economics, there was a course we had called quantitative and qualitative analysis, and everything we look at is either one or the other of those conditions. Um, and of course, for some people, they just like say the Palestinians now um, are subjected to inefficiently quantitative and diet. Um,
Hmm.
and um, and so many people in the rural worlds are lucky if they have quantitative sufficiency, where they would be okay because the quality would be good because they would be eating natural food, unprocessed foods, un full of
Yeah.
artificial flavorings and so on, and colorings and so on, and then it's just there's information out there for everyone if they just looked around to recognize that the whole system is poisoning them. And so
Mhm.
then it's fascinating to see how long the body can continue to support them um, with that terrible diet,
Mhm.
before they get cancer, before they develop cancers and those kinds of things. So,
Yeah.
hey, Frankie, how far? You must be halfway across the room.
I don't know. Last time I was much closer. I'm not sure if I know how to work the Zoom or whatever it's called. But let me see if I take this out. Well, I know my head looks so small compared to yours.
I've been accused of having a big head for a long time.
You're so much smarter than us anyway. So.
I got my notes
Um,
in front of me here, so I can't sit too far away.
I gotcha.
I remember the first time we did this, Ron, who's not here to hear this, scolded me for being too close.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, right. We couldn't see your from your chin. We could just see the bottom of your nose and up.
But I
Let me
got my
see.
notes right in front of me, plus the book, and I wanted to. It's not four yet. Let's see, what time is it?
Oh, it's just
2 minutes to four.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Almost.
Maybe we'll be just under attended. I know Mitch, of course. I talked to him a while ago, and I meant to review his email. Um, but I was looking at these pages to kind of review what I wanted to talk about, and forgot and didn't get the time to do it. So I did have to check in on the Red Sox, even though they don't care now because they're in the playoffs.
How'd
So
that game go? I was kind of I was watching about the fifth inning, sixth inning.
today,
That was about an hour ago. Yeah.
yeah, they were behind in the eighth inning, 2-1.
Oh yeah.
But you can see they've got a lot of bench guys playing, and
That's how the Dodgers played yesterday. Just all the bench guys except for Ohtani. Freeman and Mookie Betts and all of them were sitting down. That Mookie
yeah,
was sitting there going, "I'm bored. I come to work and I'm not working." That's what Mookie said.
yeah, I have no interest in the Dodgers. I
No
used to
interest.
I used to really like them when they were in Brooklyn and I was in New Jersey.
Yeah, that was a few generations ago, maybe. Yeah.
A few, I would say. Yeah, I got to see Jackie Robinson play. That's how far. Roy Campanella, Duke Snyder,
Wow.
Mhm.
Don Newcomb, Johnny Padres. What a team. Billy Cox, Junior Gilliam, Carl Furillo.
Look at memories are pretty good. Damn.
Yeah, it's really for shit, my memory, but and some things it's okay.
Isn't that funny? How it works.
Well, they say, your memory a long time ago is better than you knew.
Short term stuff.
But I had issues with my long-term memory with a lot of things too. But as long as I'm still recognize the person's name once I hear it, I figure at least I'm sane.
Right. Yes. It's not like who?
It's amazing when Ann and I do the crossword and she still thinks I'm awesome. I'm just
Ah,
faking it. So sometimes you can get it just by the associations and those kind of things. So we do it every day, of course. So. So you two guys don't know each other really. Scott's my dentist. Frank
yeah.
was my student in the early 70s. One of my excellent writers, one of my leading creative writers, and he took me for several courses, I guess it was, over the period of time. Um, we had a lot of adventures together.
Ken Kesey came to visit. That was fun.
Yeah, I brought Kesey to Hawaii for a week, and
Were you a runner, Frank?
Yes, I
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, yeah, early on, I ran a few marathons in the
Well,
80s. And then Phil and I ran one when you turned 70 in '07, right? We
yeah. The volcano.
we ran Volcano.
Yeah,
hmm,
That was my last big run. That's probably the one that slipped my disc.
no.
Not just joking, but in 2021, I had to have spinal fusion.
right.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
fine
he
actually.
suffered for a long time.
It worked so well. I had a cane for about 6 months. I had a jury trial taking oxycodone and won it. I thought that was great. That was fun.
Wow.
I took oxycodone for a year, and it was never a problem. Um, in fact, I found that when you're in pain, you take oxycodone, it makes you feel good. When you're not in pain, you take oxycodone, it makes you feel high.
Yeah.
So try to save some of that. My joke was, when I was getting these root canals as a 20-year-old or something, I had to, I would save the Percocet and take the Tylenol or acid. That would work just fine. And when
Hmm.
I'm feeling better, take the Percocet.
Hmm.
But I've always been a druggie. What can I say?
These two guys are getting to know each other, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey,
Hi
Chris.
guys, good to see you. Sorry it took so long. Computer just ran me through like a million different goofy things to do and whatever. We're here anyway. Nice to see you.
Yeah. These two guys, both of these two guys, go back to the early 70s with me,
Hmm.
Scott. Uh,
Yeah, 50 years ago.
they were both undergraduates. Chris, Frank was a little older.
Well,
Um,
you had not reached your evolutionary revolution in food and stuff when I first met you. You were
Ah,
still
ah,
kind of
ah.
red bearded and angry. That's how I remember you. Especially in class, you
There
made
you
the
go.
girls cry.
Oh, you know what I like the best, Frank, was the way he would walk into the room. There's this guy that's what are you, 5'5", five
Yeah.
six,
no, no, a
maybe?
little closer to five. I'm
A little
5'7".
closer to 5'3", maybe. Anyway, so he
Wow.
walks in the room and he's like 110 pounds soaking wet, right? And he does this thing where he goes, and he walks in like he's 6'4" and 250. He's just every time he would do this, and it was just the funniest thing. I thought, wow,
Who is this guy?
yeah, he was something. Yeah, with the red bandana. Oh my.
I wasn't lean then though. I
No,
wasn't
you
lean.
weren't. You weren't
I wasn't
lean, but
lean until 76, and that was about 73 when you were my
Yeah.
student.
that's right.
You and
You were
your
one of those
fiance.
chubby softball player. I remember you were like,
Quite a softball player. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's true. I was good at that up until in my 40s, and then I played in this over 60 league, the Makuli League, uh, way back, much later, and then I had to quit it because I was doing pretty well too. They put me in the outfield. I was never an outfielder. They put me in the outfield
Ah,
because I was
shortstop.
all these old 60-some-year-old guys. They couldn't run, so they put me out
Nobody
there.
could run. Need you
But
running around
but
out there.
we
The
played at that
gazelle.
we played at that field on by the Alawa, behind the Marco Polo,
Yeah, yeah.
and on Monday mornings. And so usually on the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, I would have like a 3-hour run because I was running marathons in the 60s, right? In my 60s. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'd have to go out and then
yeah.
a different muscle thing, slow. I was using that
Ah,
running,
sure.
distant running kind of muscle thing. And then suddenly you got a burst, after things that I had to quit doing that.
Yeah.
They wanted to keep me. They wanted to keep me, and they were going to go on a tournament on the Big Island. And no, no, I'm really sorry about that too. Now
Yeah.
I was thinking about going into over 60 league, um, but I would pretend I was in my 60s when I'm in my 80s, and then, but I don't think I'm gonna do that.
Dude, you would be able to fool some people.
Oh, I injure myself. If Tim Reith was here, he'd know all about it because he's
There you go.
still a runner, and we were talking about it. I injured myself last week doing some sprints
No.
at the track, and now I'm okay. It's gonna be okay, but boy, man, I was in bad shape. My knee, I couldn't bend my knee, my right knee for quite a while. And look at Jim, look at Jim.
Here's Jamie. Always in
He looks
bed.
he looks like
Freaking hot over here.
There you go, man.
Yeah,
I've
it is
been running
hot.
like crazy all morning.
Ah.
It's
But
hot.
notes I got.
Ah.
yeah, all these guys, Scott, were former students of mine. But these two, Chris and Frank, are about 10 years older than Jamie. Jamie was my student in the early 80s.
Okay.
I was
And,
old then, though.
You were what?
I was old then. Remember?
I know you were. You were an old soul.
An old
An
soul.
old freshman is what I was.
Jamie
Yeah.
spent like almost a month or whatever it was paddling on a
Wow.
surfboard
Oh.
all around the island of Molokai from Honolulu.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It was,
It was
it
certainly
must have been a
exciting.
big surfboard, huh?
You should have seen him in those days, man.
Oh.
Yeah,
He was
that was a while back. But
he
you
was
know,
an Adonis.
my niece sent me a picture of us when I was 38, and I looked quite a bit different. It's true.
Hey. Didn't we all? Yeah.
Well, now he rides around on a motorcycle. He's got no more paddling around the islands anymore.
All right.
Yeah,
Enjoy
Forget
that
that.
motorcycle, man.
I'm not even walking around the islands anymore.
Yeah.
I did run security at a reggae concert last night, though. That was
Wow.
Really?
cool.
Where was that, Jamie?
Oh, past Mahoa, past Kalapana, all the
wow.
way down the
Oh.
old Chain of Craters Road. I'm telling you.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
Chain of Craters Road.
I thought it came to a dead
Can you
end.
go on it now? Can you still go on it?
To a certain point,
It doesn't go around, it just goes down and stops.
goes down and stops, and I tell you, it's let us just say rural down there, and I mean
Oh, it's just
unbelievable.
lava field.
The Wild
what it
Wild
was.
West, huh?
Yeah, and this guy had built a stage in a lava puka. You know, there's lava all around it, and and it was, like I said, very puna. I don't know if you guys know what that means, but it
Well-
was.
Puna's a cross between Gunsmoke and Woodstock.
That's what I said. Puna's a
Yeah.
place for me.
It was. It wasn't bad, you know, but
Have you gone
Got
up to
home at
Volcano,
midnight.
Jamie, and looked down into Kilauea?
what's that?
Have you
Have
gone
I
up
been
to,
there?
Have you gone up to Volcano and looked down into Kilauea
No,
since this
haven't done it
latest?
yet.
I
Most,
saw-
of us most of us locals haven't.
And Frank hasn't done it either, have you, Frank?
You know it is. I sent you. I went twice in real life. I've also been taking pictures of them off the TV because every time it erupts, it's on YouTube. You can watch it anywhere.
Have you seen the line of the cars to get into the park when it's erupting?
Yes. In
Oh,
fact,
you're
yeah.
kidding.
Wait.
Oh, wow.
but I came from the car side, and as I came up to up
Yeah.
Highway 11 to the entrance, I looked down toward Hilo, and that's where the line was. I couldn't see the end of the line going down toward Hilo, but I just drove right in. I was really lucky.
Did they stop you? Did you pay? Did you show your card, or just went right in?
No. I said to pay money. They say up ahead, and there was never anybody collecting money. But you know, the worst part was taking an hour and 20 minutes to get out of the park later.
Yeah.
I mean, thousands and thousands of people.
Well, it's
You know,
just
all
really
this chit chat could have been going on at 3:30 in my time, you know, but you guys show up at business hours
Ah!
and then
Lucky I made it at all.
Thought we were getting acquainted. Ah,
That's
of
what
course,
he
what
said.
Chris was doing, of course, yeah, he had a good
Right.
reason. He was on long distance with his son Quinn Casey, the great baritone for the
Kelsey.
Metropolitan Opera Theater.
wow.
So that's what he was doing at
Was.
half hour early.
But I had a good reason. I was delivering ice and water and cigarettes to the bulldozer crew. So
Yeah, absolutely.
you got to keep them working.
That's right.
Woo! It's hot.
So
out here.
the first thing I want to talk about, but maybe I should we almost have a quorum here, is a couple of things I got to talk about Loy here. I still have a high estimate of him in many ways, the late David Loy. But there's a foundation on this book, on his theories, his own theories, that are faulty. There's a term in evolution and other contexts as oh shit, let me think about it for a second here. Auto if you're a single parent or something like that, what are you called?
Unfortunate.
Lucky.
Solo parent.
I've had this term on my tip of my tongue for quite a while now, because a friend of mine, the guy I watched the Patriots games with, Mike Brodsky, who doesn't have any interest in what we're looking at, man. I mean, he's like very materialistic, but at the same time, he didn't appear. He thought I was really full of it to believe that there used to be hermaphroditic human characters, early humans, who then broke down into males and females, and so on, which is basically the whole origin of species and so on, moving away into the other view of it and so on. And then the idea of sex, parenting, and society in the you might say humanizing of hominids. But that's not true. Um, there never, and I've looked it up and done research on it after we talked, and we were on our way to the slow pitch bar to watch the Patriots every Sunday morning. And so, and we're talking about evolution, and he's making fun of me because of this idea. And it just isn't true. And that there was never any period of time when early humans were hermaphroditic in that way.
I agree with him.
And so,
Well, for all the work that Dart did and all the work that Audrey did and fossil evidence, you'd think you would have found something that would have indicated something different.
right.
And I don't recall that there's any evidence of this physically. I mean, so yeah, it would definitely leave that open to question.
Yeah, Phil, that's why I mentioned the little tiny mammals that were running around with the dinosaurs, survived the thing from space that wiped out the dinosaurs. They survived, and they went on, and mammals. And I'm thinking their transformation to having two sexes had to have happened about the time they actually have mammals. There's
I think there were some very tiny mammals at some point. There were other creatures that did that,
yeah.
but nothing like hominids.
Oh no, yeah.
And so I don't know what Loy thought he was doing with that. But
Maybe been reading old Greek playwrights and come up with his hermaphrodite idea from there.
It was intriguing, and I fell for it. I also I would recommend you watching. Just have to just Google David Loy interview.
Hmm.
and it's a 1 hour interview with him by some British guy. And I watched it last week.
Oh,
Um, he's and it, I mean, I'm really, I still like the guy. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I still am in harmony with it. And I think that last chapter, which I'm really not going to be talking about today or anything, but that last chapter I think is almost poetic. Um, and I think that um, his heart is in the right place, and he's bright. I mean, he's written all these books. He's a tremendous writer. He was married to Riane Eisler, who I consider to be a, a genius. And her book, The Chalice and the Blade, is an incredible book about women in history and their importance in various stages of history and so on. The chalice and the blade obviously being metaphorical for the chalice would be a woman organ and a blade would be a male organ. Um, but he's interesting to watch, and you get a chance to see him. It's very easy to find it, um, and um, and he's pretty old in this thing. You know, he's dead now, and I don't imagine it was too long before he died. Um, and so he's, you might say, probably not like he was once in his life, but it's very interesting to watch him and see what he has to say. I think he's much more articulate in the book than he is when he was being interviewed. Um, but um, so that's what I have to say about this other business. I don't think it would have hurt his argument here to start with Darwin um, with factual foundations rather than that thing, but it embarrassed me with my friend Mike Brodsky. Scott knows Mike Brodsky. We watched some
Mhm.
Celtic games on playoff games because Mike's from Boston. He's a defense lawyer, just like Frank here, um, and younger, but he's in his late 60s, and he's still got clients. He sort of.
Sounds like Frank's much more open-minded than Mr. Brodsky, though. You know,
Brian.
yeah.
Brian, yes,
Mhm.
Mr. Brodsky, you said. Mike Brodsky?
Yeah,
He's talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm saying that Frank,
yeah.
while sharing the same occupation as Mr. Brodsky, Frank seems to be a much more open-minded fellow than the way you described your friend at the bar.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Mike is, Mike is, he's a different personality.
No offense to Mike, but I mean, it's nice having Frank's contributions and his open-mindedness. Then is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah, Mike and I disagree now and then, you could say. Um, we when we were watching the Patriots games, and I would be, or the Celtic games too, because I'd be critical of the Celtics, um, and he would consider me to have be a half glass empty guy.
Ah,
He'd be a glass half full guy, which they both seem the same to me, so I never really used that term. But I
Yeah.
realized that um, we have a very different background, right? I mean, he's a defense lawyer, and I was an educator, so I would look at students. You could say, I mean, that's my. He has clients and I have students. For me, I'm looking at what students can become. So of course I'm going to be critical. Otherwise, how would I do that? So I'm looking at how they can improve and so on, and that would sound critical to him. That I would say this or that player could lacks this or could develop this or something like that, and then he'd get irritated at me. And although when it's the Patriots, oftentimes I would support them and he would critique them. So I don't know. I don't know who was the empty guy and the empty full guy, but we like each other a lot. And I admire him tremendously. I don't care much for his diet, but I can say that This guy is a this guy is a tremendous. I mean, the stuff he eats. Anyway, but the he's a mountain biker of tremendous ability, and he goes up on Mount Galbraith and all other around here and elsewhere. And he's a big time skier. And he's gone to Japan to ski. He's gone to Peru to ski. He's gone to all kinds
Wow.
of places. He's going to go. Where is it? He's going to go northern BC this winter and hella ski. Meaning from a helicopter. Meaning from a helicopter. So,
Take your
you know,
son.
he's got
Crazy
a lot
remote
to lot
play.
to admire and so on about him and and so you know I love the guy in a lot of ways, and we watch games together,
Oh, cool.
and he's from Boston. He's all from Boston, and he's not too much in the Red Sox, but the Celtics and Patriots he likes a lot. Um, so much for that topic. It's so much more
And
fun
so
to
you
talk
argue
about this
about sports.
with you guys than Darwin, but and um, I'm not sure how we're going to move from here anyway. I think, and we may end up talking about a little more down, but I got notes on this whole last section of the book, um, and um, and I can say right away in page 178, where he's talking about. Um, And this is very interesting. I think this distinction that he makes between moralism and morality is a really big one. It's really heart and soul in this whole um, uh, uh, issue here. Um, and and I think a lot along with him that moralism itself will lead to enmity complex because of the opposition factor, um, which is that's a great word. I don't think we all think about it that the word opposition really comes from the same root as the word opposite. I mean, um,
Oh, yeah.
and they all come from that same root. And so the amity complex, of course, is going to be founded on opposition, which comes from opposite, looking around for opposites subconsciously, I would think, but at the same time, uh, built on that. And I think that this whole book is full of enmity, even though he doesn't use the term ever.
Yeah, that's right.
And once again avoids Arthur Keith and any kind of mention of Sir Arthur Keith. Here's Anne coming home from across. I see her out my other window here, and so
Hmm.
that troubles me too, um, because towards the end of this book, he gets into ways that remind you of the enmity complex, um, as he working real hard to be as optimistic as he can be. Um, he also um, touches on what would be synonyms of enmity quite easily and not logically. Um, and there are lots of things in this ending that I'm not that fond of. You could say, like for example, comparing Abraham Maslow with some of these other people. I mean, Maslow is of course somebody that we all became familiar with in the New Age period. This pyramid of needs. Um, I don't think they build all that well in terms of depth, but at the same time, uh, they made a lot of them. They struck importantly with a lot of other people, not so much for me. But he elevates him to a high level uh, that I towards the end that I wasn't too hot on. So I think that this morality, that's the interesting thing because moralism leads to enmity, we could call it moralism. Uh, Holier than thou, you could put it into that category, where morality leads to altruism, fairness, and that kind of balanced in terms of our judgment for others and everyone else. And altruism, of course, is a huge theme in this book. Um, and there are distinctions that he makes later on where the altruism is qualified in some kind of way, right? Either you do it in order to get a good benefit in return, or you do it for your group only. Um, it still seemed like a good place to start.
Well, I would say on that point, I feel that if you do something for the group, it will also give you pleasure. I don't,
Sure, that's what it should be.
that, you know, that's the way I see it. He never really said that. He just dichotomized the two things. You either do it for yourself or you do it for the group. But, you know, they, they both bring pleasure and relief from scorn. So that's, I think that's what's
Well, I
important.
thought, Jamie, I thought that he did touch on that the pleasure you get from making things better for someone else. But then you have the other distinction if it's only your fellows, only your group, only your what have you, as opposed to a wider range. But of course, early human beings wouldn't even be conscious of other people. I mean, I think in this way, he even talks about whether it's other species, and this is a big one there because it has a lot to do with all the so-called lower animals. And he does bring that into the discussion that you would be only wanting better things for your own species and not love the plants and the animals. I mean, this is such a big thing. This is nature, and we'll be looking at nature next month and how um, if we don't consider ourselves a part of nature, then we really are we are part and parcel of what's being you might say fucked over on the planet. Uh, this is a big theme of we'll have to be working with as we move along. Um, in all kinds of ways, and I'm looking forward to when we talk about nature. And that was in my mind to be October's subject. Um, and even in evolution, we have to consider the health of nature to be a contribution to a healthy evolution, or that may be an oxymoron in its own. But in fact, historically, all evolution was in the context of nature, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so, and we can see that it was in the context of the healing of nature, or the writing of it, or the replenishing of it, or what have you. There's got to be a consciousness in it. I mean, and we will definitely be talking. We'll have to talk about the secret life of plants. Um, in as we move along. I haven't, assigned the book, but in any way, I don't even have a copy anymore myself. I don't know why, but it's a book that changed a lot of lives, including my own, a lot of my own consciousness, um, and the intelligence of the plant world. Um, there's a lot of research going on about it now. Um, and it didn't just stop with The Secret Life of Plants, which influenced a lot of us in the 70s. That's when people were playing Mozart for their plants and Beethoven and so on, and giving them names, and it was really a fun period. But there is the story, which I know some of you have heard from me about this. I think the great experiment that I know of that I like to repeat that uh, was in The Secret Life of Plants, where this semi-academic group conducted this experiment where they would have a kind of classroom building or something like that, and they would have students who were getting paid to do this, and they would have a room down at the end of the hall in which there was a plant, a somewhat large plant in a big potted plant. And each student that they would then test, they would send this student down the hall with the instructions to pull the plant out of the pot and just trash it, beat it against the wall and jump on it and rip at it and everything you could possibly do to that plant. And interestingly enough, that plant was hooked up to a lie detector. And so when each student would go down the hall, fully intending to go to that room and go in and pull that plant out of the pot and beat the hell out of it. And while these instructors, these scientists, would be back in the main place where they started from, with that with the hookup of the lie detector, and that as these students would walk down the hall to do this, that plant would just go bananas. More and more and more and more till that student would open the door and go into the door and go straight to the plant, and the plant was just going like it was so guilty, like it was a real lie detector, right? It was like just going crazy, and then they would stop it. Okay, interrupt it right there, and the plant would just calm right down. The machine would just go right on down. It's a very famous part of the Secret Life of Plants. Griffin and Plageman or something. No, that was We Are the Earthquake Generation. I forget the name of the two guys that went in on the Secret Life of Plants, but I would say at some point we should all own it, because evolution is a natural thing. And it's interesting how Darwin, when Darwin talks about natural selection, by the way, it's also become clear to me that natural selection is really the opposite of something else. And that is, what is the opposite of natural? Artificial. So there is also artificial selection, and we know that it exists all over it, breeding dogs and horses and cattle and all that stuff. That's all artificial selection. Or even
I have a Doberman Pinscher about this big.
no kidding, a toy dog, a toy dog.
It's called a min pin. Yeah.
Well, I think the classic case for me of artificial selection is Yao Ming. I mean, and so he's the 7'4" or whatever he was, NBA basketball player, Chinese guy, where the Chinese government chose this very tall, athletic male and this very tall, athletic female, mated them together,
Seriously.
and there was Yao Ming, and he became. I think he's in the NBA Hall of Fame. What I can't understand is why Chinese didn't keep on doing it. He was probably like their best export we know of. To
5 guys like that, right?
I mean, and that's of course what we see. We see. I mean, I watch the WNBA a lot, and a lot of those women are married to NBA guys, and we see it where a lot of that professional athletes marry other professional athletes, and you can for a while there I used to think, well, it's kind of like nepotism, you know, where these
Yeah, that's what
guys
I was
where
thinking.
these guys get their fathers in the league, and so they get to be in the league too. It's like LeBron's
All these juniors.
LeBron's son, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but he's
Yeah.
good. I mean, I've seen him play, and he's good. Uh, but and of course they are good. It's not going to happen if they're not good. It's not like nepotism as we know it in the non-athletic world where we see it everywhere. Um, but at the same time, that's just a joke. But that's artificial selection as opposed to natural selection. So to me, uh, that's much more like it. And that's something we don't get so much in what Lloyd has to say about natural selection, uh, where, or it would obviously be artificial selection, but in Darwin's view, natural selection is what we call, when it's humans, is what we would call artificial selection. Because that's the whole idea of the survival of the fittest. Part of it is you attract yourself to the best woman, and that's what Darwin's full of that. So that's another aspect of it. So and yeah, on page 84 and 85, it's altruism for selfish pleasure or greater happiness, which would have to do with greater in the sense of altruistic happiness. I don't know how to call it. Then there's stuff about social instincts in page 188, uh, versus barbarian ones, habits gained uh, in your conscience, in youth uh, studies and youth consciousness and so on. Um, and so I like to do this, I like to go through of course, I do a lot of underlining in the pages and so on. And I have another idea I want to share with you. Um, and especially once we get to page 90. But oh, uh, what was I going to say here? It'll come back to me. Darn it. So and there's talk about the new thought churches. Um, and and I was raised in one of the one that he lists on page 90. Um, I was raised in Christian Science, as some of you know, and yeah, it's right in that area somewhere. I thought I had it written. Oh my. The hell. I have to look at it, but it has like religion, unity. It would be one. Science of mind, religious science, Unitarian, all these churches, which are a sign of a higher level that he's um, dealing with. So much about that. Um, in around page 191, um, he brings out the idea of our moral evolution, progress in religion, meeting these. Oh, it's probably on the other side, maybe. No, it doesn't matter.
Well, on that page, he just distinguishes between doing things for the happiness of a group or for the good of a group.
Yeah,
And what he's talking about there or some.
exactly. Um, it's 191, isn't it? That not 91 or what? Sorry about that. I'm way off.
We got you. We knew you weren't on page 91.
91?
One.
91,
It-
92.
No, but we're not. But that wasn't in this week's reading.
No.
It's got to be 191.
Not
191.
191. But we were talking about
Or 19.
spiritualism and religion. And Darwin said that belief in a higher power is not innate or instinctive, but does impact morality. But the belief in an all pervading spirit is universal and with advanced reasoning. So that, yeah, there's a whole bunch of differences in different religions. But the fact that so many people believe that there is something else comes with higher reasoning powers. That's very interesting to me because he tries to stay away from religion, but and he keeps saying it was because to please his wife and stuff like that. But there's there's this feeling that there is a higher power, whatever you want to call it. There's something else out there.
Sure.
And then he goes on and much later to say that we are all connected, in quantum physics and all that. It's very, very interesting to me, that part of it.
Well, yeah, and quantum physics is very definitely a part of that. Plus, also is in when he talks about chaos theory, and the other theory is similar to that, where you've got the wholeness that when it's looked the wholeness, then it gives integrity to the parts of it as well, because it's part of this greater whole. And I think he's big strong on that, and it is at the bottom of 190, and he's talking about reading this other chapter, this paragraph, which once again ties in with enmity. The next to the bottom paragraph on 190, how we achieve this. He points specifically to the agency of education and to that great surprise, considering how Darwin had been painted by creationists and others, both Satan and Antichrist. For now, he keeps forth from the chamber in which he'd been locked away for over 100 years, and an advocate of the moral agency of progressive spirituality and progressive religion. And then he lists these churches, and these are just among Christians. Now, as you know, some of you, I taught the Gospels for years as narrative, as basically, because I taught this, the mysticism and literature in these courses. And the Gospels, when you read them as a narrative, when you read them as a story, then they become much more meaningful and much more credible. Especially, for example, when the you could say the average so-called Christian believes that it's the only way, and he even says it in the Bible, right? He even says Jesus even says it. I'm the way. I'm the door. I'm the way. But if you read it in its narrative form, he's not talking about Buddhism or Taoism or anything like that. Only him. He's talking about the Pharisees. It's the whole narrative there is about you either follow Jesus, who is the antidote to the Pharisees, and so it's very clear there in the story if you recognize the story there. I'm sure if you met the Buddha or met Lao Tzu or whoever, he would get along quite well with him. And so in this, I think I've mentioned this before to you, maybe not, Karen Armstrong, the great scholar on the Abrahamic religions and her inability to see how they can't relate to each other, Christianity, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, because they're all Abrahamic in the first place, and because they're all teaching the same thing. I mean, they're all in harmony with each other, and this is where a book that you all would be familiar, wouldn't hurt to read, is Aldous Huxley, the grandson of T.H. Huxley, and who's the great evolutionist as well. He was a big fan of Darwin, T.H. Huxley. Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, the author of Brave New World, and of course a lot of great novels. He has a book called let me see if I can remember it now. In a book. Shit, this is what happens. Called, damn it. I'm sorry. You can look it up and find it. You can just look up Aldous Huxley's books, and you'll recognize it right away. It's 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 the unity of all the religions. It's basically, that's not the title, but and it'll come to me as I talk to you. This is the kind of thing that was happening to David Loy in that interview. He'd be going, you'll have a few laughs at that, because he'd go, oh, what was I? It's like Frank tells me when he's in the law in his lawyer suit, and he's going, and he says something, and then he has to mention something else, and then he wonders, well, what was I thinking about? It never happened to me in a trial, but it,
Yes.
it happens to me in this context.
Because you practiced. So they call it practicing law.
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
know people ask me, are you still practicing? Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna get it. Still
Well,
practicing.
Well, you,
Getting back to what you were talking about, though,
Uh-huh.
Loy, and I don't mean to cut. This is very enjoyable
problem.
talking about
No,
Frank's.
no,
no
no,
problem.
no, move
But,
on, move on.
This is up to you
But
to have stuff too. Go on.
But this thing about, well, it just happened to me. Boom, boom, boom. It was there a minute ago. The
Can't get
spokes
into
on the
it.
wheel. The spokes on the wheel that he
Oh.
makes pretty obvious reference to throughout the earlier parts of the book. You know, when he's talking about the golden rule and how similar it all is.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, sure, the people that want to make differences and do the enmity things, they're going to do it anyway. But how sad that this realization that we can have a common spiritual desire and not get caught up in the religion structures and the things that kind of screw it up. Because the spirituality is what we want. The spirituality is what we need. But we don't need all that other.
And this trip, and this, Chris, is because you're stuck on the rim of the wheel.
Yeah.
And
So
it's universal.
the wheel's
You
just
know.
got these three parts, right? It's got the rim, it's got the spokes, and it's got the hub. So once you can just visualize it, it becomes so clear. And out on the rim, they all look very different. All these religions look very different. To me, they're just like, how I like to think of it as the bunch of car dealerships. And so there they are, all out there on the rim of the wheel, selling their cars, and pretending that they're different when they're not really all that different, and having to sell them because they're in that business. It's kind of like the way the churches are working. Plus, the churches that are at the rim, the churches are businesses. They need money to pay for the mortgage of the church and all of that. They need to all this kind of thing. So they're stuck in the material aspect of it. And that's where materialism lies, out there on the rim of the wheel. The spokes
They
themselves,
even need to pay their choir soloists.
he's talking this from experience. He's a choir soloist himself.
It's important.
And
Pay those
and
choir
and,
soloists.
does Etsuko know, Frank, that Chris really he is a specialist in his choir solos, which because they're in the church where Japanese couples are getting married.
Really?
So
I sing for
I mean,
Japanese weddings.
he does other stuff too, but
Ah,
and he
do you
does
sing in
all kinds
Japanese?
Yes, that's what I'm
Absolutely
going to say.
not.
So you sing in Japanese?
Absolutely not, sir. My
Okay.
very limited Japanese speech, and I apologize for that. But they seem to appreciate, Kikali Niao and the Lord's Prayer, and so we just kind of roll with that.
Oh, right on. Right on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
is the market going back up again now? Are there more and more coming?
Very slightly. I think we went from about, I mean, in its heyday 3 or 4 years ago, well, before COVID, of course, it was like 40 or 50 a week. And now I'm sorry, 40 or 50 a month, not 40.
Okay,
But
I was
now
wow.
it's down to about, average is about 4. But I noticed I got a November schedule where it's up to 6. So, I mean, maybe it's increasing. It's mostly for me. I mean, originally it was a really important part of, more weddings, getting more income. And
Right.
now I don't. Now I don't, but it's enjoyable. I enjoy being there with them,
What city do you live in?
man. Sir?
What city?
Oh, Honolulu. Yeah.
Honolulu.
It's a Central Union Church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
Century.
easy for me.
Okay, that's my family's church.
There you go. I
I
mean,
got
I live
it.
in Manila, so it's 10 minutes away, and
Oh,
no
yeah.
over. And wear nice shoes, and
Can buzz
Sing
over
crazy.
there and listen to you.
it'd be fun. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to get us way off the track.
not at
with
all. I just can't remember what I
That
was going to
personal
say,
remark.
but
Well,
Well,
can I say something? Because he was talking about God, and he made some funny statement that the assumed instinctive belief in God been used by many people as an argument that he exists. But next he says, more generally, a belief in all-pervading spiritual agencies seems to be universal.
What page is that? What page is that, Frank?
202.
202. Thank you.
mm-hmm.
He says all-pervading spiritual agencies seem to be universal, um, and it follows from advance in our reason and greater advance in our faculties of imagination, curiosity, and wonder. And so I immediately, as a fiction writer, I hooked in on the word imagination, and he uses it several
There you go.
times in this area here, talking about, I guess the effect of evolution on, it's one of the big things he says is recollection, looking back, seeing what happened in the past, imagining what's happening in the future, applying today to all those analyses to get a real perspective of what's going on. And I just felt like looking into the future is the imagination of any kind of writing like that.
Right. He says that's where the conscience comes from, is that
Yes.
when you reflect on the past and
Yep.
was it good or was it bad? And that's where morality comes from, actually. And I would also say that my big question had already been answered, and finally, there's a footnote, number 389, states that Darwin believed that virtue as a habit evolves into an inherited trait, so that when we practice and let us say virtues or almost anything, that it takes a long time, but it becomes an inherited trait, which is where, through the conscience, that's where morality comes from. I don't know why they never said that. I guess everybody, anthropologists, knew it or something. But if you do something enough and it becomes a habit for the culture,
There you go.
then it becomes an innate instinct for the species, which, that's what I thought. Where do these things come from? But it was finally answered for me.
Well, and then that also I was thinking about that quite a bit too, as Jamie was talking about it. And do we then have the ability to create our own morality or our own conscience by deliberately practicing a particular pattern until it becomes habit, until it becomes part of our conscience, so that as human beings, we have this ability to control this and to help affect our own evolution.
Yes.
Right. I think that's what he's getting at.
And
I
this
mean,
is,
that seemed like what he was saying, right?
and remember that when he talks about conscience, he's using that term organic choice. So it's that organic choice that becomes, so that, this is also, when we're talking about reflection, like Jamie's talking about that. And so you get that, this is that pattern Frank and I talked about a little earlier today, where you get that pattern, which he calls caring, then reflection, then language, then habit. Those four things. And they get repeated in different ways throughout the book. So that caring, of course, has to do with your affections and your love for each other and
Right.
giving a shit about your fellows and so on. And not only that, but like when you read about him in the Galapagos and in Brazil and all this kind of stuff and the injustice that he's seeing done and the cruelty and all these kinds of things that are being in. And this is where at the end, next to the last chapter, boy, I'm going, this is too optimistic for me. Uh, I don't see
Yeah.
things this way. And then in one page, something I got it written down here somewhere, where he talks about how people are this way and people do this and people do that. And I'm going, that's too much generalization, man. You can't just call about people and then give them all these virtues.
Some people.
Yeah, you gotta somehow qualify those people. I mean, and he doesn't talk much about. He does move us. He does take us in the evolution to the personal, more and more to the personal. And now early on, it's more group evolution that we think of in terms of that. But our species, man, it just isn't the same. It's just can't. And this is what we're talking more about this too when we talk about reincarnation. So you just can't expect everybody to be the same in their level of evolution, especially
Right.
when you look at reincarnation, and then you have to stop and think about how many lifetimes that soul has had. I mean, this is reaching out there, but it isn't really, it really is going inside. But in this process though of
Well, it's going to
pairing,
take a long time.
huh? What, Jamie?
I say it's going to take a long time to evolve, and that's what he's
That's
saying.
right.
It's not,
That's right.
it's not immediate.
One
But also-
lifetime and you're going to go to heaven for the rest of the eternity, and you go, I think that's a little short, man. I don't know if I can live up to it that quickly. It's like one lifetime, that's my shot,
And if you don't, man, it's damnation and fire forever.
Yeah. But where was forever
Yeah.
before you were born? It's like,
Well,
no,
I know that's what I like to ask people. It's what's it like when you die? I say, well, how'd you feel about a year and a half before you were born?
it's
That's
like,
about how
it's
it's
like,
gonna
it's
be
so
with me, guys.
preposterous. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely preposterous, It's like, it just makes utterly no sense. Now, Scott up there, he's got 3 books on reincarnation that I passed on to him. So he's going to become knowledgeable and in all kinds of ways of looking at it and seeing how logical it is, really. You just have to find some generalizations to build your reasoning on that they're now credible to you. And this is why I also want to mention the word believe, because he tells us sometimes about what Darwin believed and so on. And so this is very important. And some of the guys I know, at least Mitch, are going to be watching this recording, and they'll probably get a few laughs. And so if you got, and when I'm on a trail and I'm talking, oftentimes I get into the idea of believing and belief. And if we stop and really consider belief we have to recognize that it's a mental faculty. To be able to believe is something that makes us unique. And so then if we look and say, well, how do you come to believe something? Well, of course, it's got to be evidence-based. If you don't have evidence basing your belief, then it's not credible. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. If you
Well, then,
like Donald Trump, everybody that believes in him doesn't really have the proper evidence. And so if we
it
recognize
becomes
this
faith.
now, hmm?
It becomes faith at that point. You know,
Well,
people
yeah,
have
but
faith.
I think faith is also credible. I mean, you need to have evidence for faith too, I believe. But anyway,
Okay.
so um, but in this particular case, it's almost knowing. That's how I would define belief. It's almost knowing. If I say, okay, he said he's going to meet you tomorrow at the so and so. Do is he going to meet? Is he really going to do it? And he said, well, I believe he will. Now, you can't say I know he will. This is the thing about induction and deduction in terms of logic. When you have to have induction to have deduction, because induction is gathering enough evidence to have a generalization. Now you've got a generalization. All men are created equal, which is nonsense, but I'm just saying it. And so then you say he's a man, therefore he's equal. I'm not sure who to or what have you. But so that's because when you teach, which I taught logic a lot of times in courses, and so even 32 degrees freezes the ice or freezes the water. It's an induction. You've made it now, and you've got a generalization. But you can't swear that it will the next time, even though it does it. You can do it, of course, but logically you can't. This is how Sherlock Holmes solved his crimes. So if I say all Jamies are handsome, and this guy's a Jamie,
Yeah, that would be true.
then you might say, oops.
True.
So you go, he's a Jamie,
course.
ergo, he's handsome. And so
Ergo.
believing one has to be evidence-based, and two is a mental faculty. Now I can believe stuff. It's almost all where theory. This is where theory comes in too. I've got enough data to believe that to keep going, really, basically. That I'm gonna get there because I believe it now. I know enough to believe it, but I still need more to prove it.
Yeah, and you have to test it.
Right.
Test your theory.
Yeah, exactly. And so if we could teach people about believing in school, like a lot of other stuff. And so, like when I was in eighth grade, man, we took civics, and I learned all about the three arms of government and so on in civics. And so, in this particular case, though, if you can teach them that believe is a powerful strength, but it has to be evidence based. Otherwise, you're being sold a bill of goods. You don't wanna not believe it. You wanna believe it because it's, especially if you're in enmity, because now you're polarized. So now you're going to believe you're going to believe something that's not true because it supports what you've been prejudiced into falling for. And so much of that is true in evolution. I mean, my goodness, I mean, it's like we have to have it has to be truth that, but believing is, of course, serves the truth. Believe is a step toward it, a step towards the truth. And I would continue to research it, continue to study it, continue to observe it, whatever I would do, even after I've come to believe it, because I want to make sure. I mean, I kind of believed Loy about the hermaphroditic hominids. And so I bought it. and believed him. I believed him. Um, and I still don't quite get. He doesn't mention it in that interview. That guy that interviews him say, "What about these early humans that could make themselves could knock themselves up?" And so
Right.
you
So
go,
they're asexual, not necessarily hermaphroditic. Just
yeah,
like
it would
many
be. Oh,
plants and
the term is auto. Um, darn it. Um,
Auto
I
insemination.
just looked that up again today too, and it's and I'm not, that's the way it works. Um,
insemination.
it's no, it's no, no, it's no, it's auto. Um, oh, I should have written it down, and I didn't. Um,
Yeah, that,
so then, so then this whole idea, like for example, on page 192, there's recollection. This is Jamie would brought this up, um, where humans have recollection plus conscience. Um, it's like we have this capacity, and he comes back to it, and this goes into the reflection side of this caring, reflection, language, and habit. Um, and habit, of course, has something to do with instinct. It has something to do with what within our nature. If it's habit, it's in our nature. And we know that there are healthy habits and unhealthy habits, and so it's not like a habit is only a bad thing. It's not like say, oh, I have no habits and so on. You say, well, it would make sense. It would make sense to have good habits, and and that way you're influencing your instinct, and you're influencing who you are going to be in the future, in the next lifetime, and the time after that, and so on. So but its language is also, and then where is it later? Um, where we can find a couple of examples of that. I got it written down here somewhere. Oh, here, page 204.
Yeah, those are good pages, 203 to 5.
That's it. Yeah, there's a hell of a page there, boy.
yeah.
Um, and so you've got this moral sense, you got the social instinct that we share, you've got the approval, disapproval of your fellow, and so on. But as you move down the down the book, down the page, um, as the second paragraph is, oh, the first paragraph is only 2 lines, and then as we have seen, the moral sense as it operates within ourselves follows first from the enduring and ever-present nature of the social instincts we share with a wide range of organisms and animals prior to us on the evolutionary developmental scale. So this is really what the instinct is used there, but it's really what we share in our caring nature. And so, and then next after semicolon, second, from our appreciation of the approval and disapproval of our fellows, which has to do, of course, with what do you call it? Reflection. And then, oh no, it's bigger than that. Um, it's a little bigger than that. I'm sorry. That's the other list. There's the other thing, first, second, and third, which are inside the larger 4. And so, because the next one goes, the higher degree of the higher, and third from the high activity of our mental faculties. So that's really 2 in that other list of caring, reflecting, language, and habit. And so then we go, and then that's there. And then a little bit later, the paragraph, we also differ from the lower animals in the word, in the power, excuse me, in the power of expressing. That's where the words are there. The language is there of expressing our desires by words, which thus become a guide to the aid required and bestowed. The motive to give aid is likewise much modified in our species. It no longer consists solely of a blind instinctive impulse, but is much influenced by the praise or blame of our fellow humans. The appreciation and bestowal of praise and blame, in turn, all this is tying into language, both rest on sympathy, and both rest on sympathy. Sympathy in turn, though gained as an instinct, is then much strengthened by exercise or habit. And then finally, in the next paragraph, next to the last paragraph on this page, as the reasoning powers advance, so you got that, and experience is gained, the remoter effects of certain lines of conduct on the character of the individual and on the general good are perceived. This is where the habit comes in. As all of us desire our own happiness, and as the self-regarding virtues come within the scope of public opinion, praise or blame is bestowed on actions and motives to this end. And as happiness is an essential part of the general good, the greatest happiness principle indirectly serves as a nearby safe standard, right or wrong. And so there's the idea is that we're habituating wisdom is a term hardly ever gets used here, which troubles me to some degree as well. Because, as you know, I decided this group was going to be called philosophical evolution. And I had an idea behind it, not just to give it a fancy title, because philosophical, in my context, and that's what I want to emphasize in our group, is that philosophical means one thing. And it's what's your philosophy or whatever, well, you don't spit on the sidewalk in front of the, whatever, that's my philosophy. Or what's your philosophy of offense? Your coach, is it passing a lot or not or whatever? And you go, well, it could be the way you express your love of wisdom. But it has to start there because that's what the word means. It's a portmanteau word. Philos, Sophia. Philos, love. Sophia, wisdom. That's why Socrates called himself a philosopher. That's all he was, a lover of wisdom. That's all he claimed to be. When I used to spend a lot of time in Mexico, and sometimes with Carlos, and sometimes in more rural areas, I would meet campesinos, and with my little bit of Spanish, I could talk to them, and you could see that they loved wisdom. They didn't claim to be wise. They didn't come along that way. But the right way, that way is what they believed in, to seek that. Now, I hope some of the other people watch this because this is very important in evolution, in my view, in the way that we're looking at it. Because we know that we're talking about the 7 chakras. I mean, they're part of what we're doing in terms of our own personal makeup, physical, emotional, mental, moral in the heart chakra, then creative, intuitive, and wisdom. We all have a wisdom chakra, and they call it the 1,000-petaled lotus in the Asian traditions, the crown chakra. And I also want to just throw this back in because I'm not sure we talked about it in this group, and maybe some people will see it watching this. I've learned now in the last number of months in the evolution process that we're working with, I'm learning as much as anybody. And so here's the chakra. The chakra looks like this. It's a vertical chart, right? Root of the spine to the crown chakra. Well, if I do this with it and put it on a lateral plane, now it's not so much spatial, it's more temporal. And I think the chakras are just like ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, right? The time you're in the womb recapitulates the whole lifetime. And so in this particular case, think of it. Here we were, a two-legged animal. We're physical. It was all physical. We were just a physical creature. Our very first, you could say, evolutionary stage. But it leads upward. So it leads to an emotional nature, and it leads to having feelings. If you're just it had to have. If you're just a physical creature, you're going to be fighting for things and doing all these various kinds of things, and you're going to have feelings. And some of that gets touched on in here. And so then you develop a mental nature. Of course, it's kind of like the guys in Under the Mountain Wall. And so they're basically physical creatures, these Stone Age human beings. Jamie's read this book. And so, and Chris has too. And so then you have you've got this physical, emotional, mental nature. It's a person now. And so those are our personal chakras, individual to us. Then there's the heart chakra, which, as I see it, of course, is the gateway chakra to the higher chakras, because we also got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And you know how I feel about the pride flag, because it skips the indigo hue. It's more of a social thing than a spiritual thing, or even a metaphysical thing. And so think of that now. Think of how we evolved as physically only. And then we had emotions. And then we had thinking minds and so on. And then we had the moral. Here's the moral chakra, man. This is the heart chakra. We developed the moral nature. And then the creative, intuitive, and wisdom nature as well. So we all have access to these 7 qualities. And that's when you can look the chakras up and so on and just see it. In fact, here's one you want to really look at is the caduceus, which is the symbol of the American Medical Association.
Hmm.
And the way the chakras work is these serpents. And they're called the Ida and the Pingala and the Sushumna up the middle. And so the Ida and the Pingala, they cross at every chakra. And they're depicted in the mystical charts as snakes. So they do this at each chakra all the way up to the crown. Interesting but the earliest medical figures in history were also mystics.
Mhm.
And this symbol has gone back all the way. So he wants to touch on mysticism in this book. But that's not his field. He's a psychologist and anthropologist to some degree. And I appreciate what he does. I mean, I think he's a great figure, and I think the last chapter is like poetry. But I think the next to the last chapter is overly optimistic and full of all kinds of stuff that he credits to Darwin. But I think it's kind of sophomoric, because just look around and you can recognize that not everyone has evolved to the same nature. And it doesn't sound democratic, but at the same time, it just isn't the case. And the only logical understanding of that, really, when it comes down to it, after a lot of study and meditating and what have you, is that everybody is a different age or something. They have this, it's evolution. Evolution and reincarnation, to me, really go hand in hand. And it's the only way of understanding how evolution even takes place when we think about it. And like Jamie puts it, one lifetime just isn't enough. Isn't long enough to actually complete our road or whatever.
Right.
Plus, there's so much
Your mission.
evidence. Hmm?
I,
Right?
I just said mission, but I mean road is better because mission sounds like a goal that you reach. It's more the road.
That's
What
right.
was the word? Where did the word come up recently? Mission. Oh, it's a crossword puzzle. It's a New York Times crossword puzzle. But yeah, I mean, it is a mission. We just watched the movie again a month or two ago. I wonder why Robert De Niro doesn't really like to be associated with it. He played a conquistador, but you never hear him.
Oh yeah,
You never hear him. Um,
that's a tremendous movie.
it's like that's like Liam Neeson's first movie,
Yeah, yeah.
and
De
of course,
Niro carrying all his physical sins on his back
yeah,
up the mountain.
What movie is that?
Robert De Niro,
I don't think it's called The Mission though.
his
It's called
armor,
something else.
Yeah,
and it's
what
a, it's
about
a, it,
the name of the movie?
yeah, well, it's a
Yeah,
it's a
I don't
spirit,
think it's
it's
The
a sacred
Mission.
religion. It's a Catholic
Yeah,
it's a Catholic mission, um, and
Okay.
you've got Liam Neeson as a priest in it, um, and I forget the other actors. It's Ennio Morricone, the greatest
oh
film composer of
yeah.
all time. Uh, I used to have the album. Uh, it's just it's a movie. It's a wonderful film. It's just um, tremendous film. Um, and there are other actors in it. I can't think of their names now. The Irish actor, what's his name? Anyway, not for him. But this is. I'm, I hope some of the guys check in on this. I know it rambles around, and that's the way it always will. Um, but I think I think we're really onto such an important subject. Um, and like I said, evolution to me is on the vertical plane of the chakras. The other thing about the chakras, though, that I should add to it, since I've taken us onto this topic, is when we look at it in the vertical position, and then we look at it in the vertical chart. Now we're looking top down. I've always thought of the chakras for decades, as like at the fair, at the county fair, where somebody's got a hammer and they're gonna hit the thing and send the thing up to the bell and ring the bell. And because that's the reach that anybody on the spiritual path that's not just you could say a regular kind of churchgoer would be thinking in terms of has some kind of vision like this. But if we, and of course, where was I? So if we look at it from the top down, most of the time we look at it, and as Frank knows, I'm convinced that the chakras are Jacob's ladder. And so, but if we and we can just see physical, emotional, mental, creative, intuitive, and wisdom. So if we look at down though, so now we got wisdom at the top, feeding downward. So you've got wisdom here. What's it feeding? Intuition. Intuition here. The source of insights. This is insights in the third eye chakra. So what do they feed? What does it feed? Throat chakra, which is the creative nature. You can't have a creative idea without an insight. Think about that. It's like, aha, you have this insight. You're stuck. You're stuck. We like to think of the blue. We like to think of the creative nature as just coming out of the blue, which it really does in many ways. But the scientist or the creative person or what have you, classic, right? Everybody knows this. They kind of give up because they stopped thinking about it. You're going to get something in the mail, and once a guy get in order to help me put it into, I can send it out. Um, where I send out two things. Some of you I know have seen it. One is Rationale for Good Choosing. The other is um, William Blake. Um, uh, the William Blake stuff, which he looks at the higher self. Each of them look at the higher self, and Rationale for Good Choosing is what's his name? Willard Willis. He's a psychologist, and he argues that thinking mind isn't sufficient to really solve problems, which would be here, which would be here. And so you go, well, but what it needs is what he calls creative intuitive mind, which would be thinking of mind really is thinking of mind really, I'm sorry, is in the solar plexus. What am I saying? And so the thing up here, but the and Willis Harman, he founded the Noetics Institute. He was and with Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut, they founded the institute together. It's a branch of psychology, humanistic psychology, which he pays attention to here. He talks about this higher levels of psychology, and in fact, Tim Reith in here, and when he was an undergraduate student of mine, and he's going to be sketchy with us. He's the one that runs the archaeological corporation, and is a big time runner. He was in my freshman English class, honors class. He came to me, and you may already have heard this. He comes to me and says, "I'm dropping out of UH." He wanted to be in the UH anthropology department and study to become an archaeologist as a freshman. But he didn't want to be in a student, but he couldn't stand what he had to do. It's just the first semester of his freshman year. And I had him in this honors freshman composition class. He was just outstanding. As he comes to my office, as you know, I had no furniture in it, so we're sitting on the floor talking, and he's telling me I'm going to drop out and go back to New Jersey. We had that in common too, and so he wanted to go back to New Jersey. He was a runner. He wanted to go back to New Jersey because he couldn't stand being at UH with a bunch of local high school graduates. They were just so undertaught. So I solved the problem for him. I turned him on to a bunch of friends of mine in different departments, and he could take classes with them. And then he moved on. He ended up taking more than Chris took as an undergraduate, 5 classes with me. Chris only took 2 or 3. But then he became my TA. He became my
I
TA.
was the champ. I took 10 classes with you, sir. 10.
Yeah, but that was later. That was after the first few.
No. I took classes from you. You even came, and I was registering for another class, and you said, "I'm teaching a class at this time. You got to come to this class."
Uh,
Okay.
And you're the winner.
He became my
Wow.
TA. He became my TA. Unofficially, though, for most of those, right? You were taking it into directed reading or something like that, and then
Huh?
you'd be my TA. He was something, man.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, it's
You're doing
okay.
fine.
Anybody is welcome to it. You know that. Um, and so, um, where was I though, Tim? Or, uh,
10 years of
Tim
teaching.
didn't. Yeah, he didn't want to spend his education career
so
with
yeah, so he moved on.
compared
There's
fellow students.
something else about it that he knew, he knows about, in terms of my own experience too. But I don't remember what it was. Sorry, all you people that are tuning into this and recognizing that just sounds like a bunch of. But we are accomplishing something here. I mean, I hope. Um,
We are.
I think some of the things towards the end that really bother me, as I said before, um, and and there's pages 204 and 205 that we were looking at before, um, where the caring and reflection and language and habit are reviewed, and then again on page 210. But on 205, expectations that virtuous habits will get stronger. Um, I think in the long run, that's true. I think we're all evolving. And that's a number of things where he talks about how it's becoming more personal as we evolve because consciousness is evolving. It's not like the natural evolution that we start out with, where you have early humanid characters that are just learning how to be human, you could say. But we're talking about the more and more individual it becomes, and the more personal it becomes. Not everyone is evolving at the same pace. In fact, it's kind of interesting to imagine what evolution is, how it's working for everyone. It's kind of heartbreaking and sad. And that's why a lot of the stuff at the end, when he's referring to people this and people that and all that and so on, and don't think we can talk about them all the same, but it's very difficult not to. Because
He was talking about good and bad.
right?
And it came to me that,
Did
and
that.
morality and all of that works, but that that we're moving towards a more virtuous evolutionary scale. But because people are different, and you say that, you don't see everything as being rosy, it came to me, and he never really explained this, but other than to say that people who were abused and neglected at the formation stage early in their lives got that, but became bad people. But also, it depends on the culture that you're brought up in. He talks about the Nazis and all this stuff. If you are taught that those evil things, as far as I'm concerned, are correct, then that, of course, influences your particular virtue. What you think is good is influenced by your culture, your group. So
Yep.
not everybody has the same idea of what is good.
No way.
You know,
Right. You're right.
and I suppose we're become a global culture. We work towards that, but as I say, it's going to take a long time for it to become an innate characteristic.
Yeah, and I think we've had a big setback in the last 40 or 50 years. And here he talks about slavery, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and how slavery is something that you can that people have rationalized into thinking they're still a good person because this is like a sub person or something like that. This is a person that doesn't rate being treated like a full human being. It's a black person. It's not, it's only half a person in the census or whatever. It's not really a fully, and well, when I, in the summer of 64, my first wife and I, Paulette and I, hitchhiked to South Africa from Ethiopia, or actually from East Africa. A bunch of us took a plane to East Africa, and then Paulette and I hitchhiked down to South Africa. The reason I joined the Peace Corps in 64, 63, um, was to learn more about race. I was involved with some racial things and demonstrations and things in New Jersey in the early 60s. And I wanted to go to Ethiopia. I wanted to go to Africa and learn what I could learn about what the hell the racial thing is all about. And I was sent to Ethiopia. Just the two of us were. And so that summer we hitchhiked down, and I knew a lot of. I used to hang around in coffee shops in Addis Ababa. I taught in the capital city, so I hang around these coffee shops with these uh, uh, South African black South Africans who were escaped from country and were in Ethiopia. and they gave me a bunch of names of people to look up. We were chased around by the police in South and Johannesburg because of the people we were hanging around with.
This is a good story, Phil.
And so, uh, and so I was at this one event where I didn't get to meet too many Afrikaners, Boers. I didn't get to meet too many of them. And so I did meet, I got, it was this one place, one kind of thing, party of some kind. And I was talking to this Afrikaner. Um, and, uh, he asked me what I was doing and where I was from and so on. I told him I was teaching in the Peace Corps in Ethiopia, and I hitchhiked down there and to learn more about racial stuff and so on. And I said, and I feel I really see what it looks to me like a lot of injustice that's being carried out or carried on um, against your black South Africans here. And he was stunned. He just was like, uh, "What do you mean?" Uh, and then explained to me how these weren't really human beings.
Ah, no.
These were
Right.
not fully human. These were really
God.
mostly subhuman. They were really, and and
Well,
and that
they
was
were like
such a
animals.
mind-blowing thing for me. I mean, and
Not really.
and then I, of course, recognized that I'd seen it before in other contexts. In where even in
America.
Ethiopia, where you had some Ethiopians that didn't rank to be a fully human being like other Ethiopians, or in our own world and
Mm.
and so on, our own country or even have you. So, I mean, that's the kind of like that's the whole deal. And it's something a self-aggrandizement that that is aided by looking down on others, whatever those happen to be. And so this is very rich in this whole study that we're doing. And Darwin saw it on the voyage of the Beagle, and he saw it all over the place. And this guy was just evolved in a certain way in that trip. And this is where we really need to accept that evolution is happening all the time. And that, and I know when, you know, Mitch really was sorry to miss this meeting. We talked on the phone and and so on. And Mitch will be very strong when we talk about spiritual growth. Um, he's got tremendous background in all of it, um, and we share a lot of it. Um, and he will continue to be a valuable member, of course, with us in this regard. Um, where and and when we're talking about our lifetimes, we can't not get into we will get into all kinds of spirituality in the months to come, including karma. So that to this is what last few minutes ago, I was reminded of is the whole understanding that karma is alive and well. I mean, karma is always underway, and it's the justice of the justice of uh, you could say evolution, because karma and evolution go hand in hand. And as you evolve, of course, then you're limiting the karma that's holding you back. Plus, think about this about the what do you call it system? The in Hindu tradition, the caste system.
Hmm. Mhm.
And I've read Gandhi's work a lot when I was first into this tradition in 1976. Some of you know that's when I really kind of changed. Um, and I wasn't quite strutting in anymore. And so, um,
You always strutted in. Come on.
and so anyway,
Don't give me that.
so anyway,
We were
uh,
there. We saw it.
and so anyway, um,
Sorry.
don't distract me. So, um, Gandhi, I read Gandhi's journals and everything were a big influence on me back in that period in 76. And that's where non-attachment came in, uh, brahmacharya. And so non-attachment, and here was what his practice was, non-attachment, which meant not brooding over results of your labors. And so, because what he would say here was that if you're brooding over the results of your labors, then you're going to cheat a little bit to get to get your result that you're looking for, rather than to just accept the reward that is due you and just live with that. And so Gandhi on the caste system, he never spoke against it.
Hmm.
He spoke against untouchables, but the caste system itself is a whole different thing. You have these levels of the caste system, and you can still have dignity in that caste in a situation where you don't have a bunch of people that are married to this so-called democracy and forcing all this other stuff and making them yearn to be in a higher caste or making them to feel unjustly treated and so on. When you can be a perfectly respectable blacksmith and as a working class caste and do well and so on, and then you'll earn a promotion.
Excuse me.
And that promotion will move you up higher to when you are, I forget what you call it, the upper class anymore. I used to know, I can't think of it at the moment.
Well, can you actually move castes though? You
Oh
can't
yeah. Oh
be-
yeah. That's the beauty of this whole business. That's the beauty of reincarnation in the first place. It's the beauty of all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Karma is there. Boy, I never forget that karma is in play. And it's in play at all levels. And so, and Gandhi would tell you that. What was the one last thing Gandhi said when he was shot? Rama, Rama, the great deity. And so he he talks about how if you just be the best you can be at that level, and that not untouchables is something totally different. If you what's the biggest? Oh, it's not a thought of what you called it. The book Siddhartha. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with it.
Are you thinking of Brahmin, the Brahman?
Yeah, it's Brahman. And so what's the most important thing that goes along with it? Responsibility. It's like the responsibility of being in that higher caste. But of course, it can be misused. It can be all kinds of stuff that go on. There was a time, I think, in the history of our country where a lot of wealthy people, very wealthy people, looked at it as a responsibility and considered their responsibility to be of to be to provide goodness for everyone. It doesn't mean they all have to be equal. It doesn't mean they all have to own a mansion. Just the other day, I was thinking about how screwed this culture is, how unfair it is. I was reading different stuff in the paper and reading about it and so on, and I was thinking, there's just no reason for people to have millions and billions of dollars. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not spread out fair. I know what it was. It's about people that can't afford to get tickets for whatever concert it's going to be. Because these performers they're gouging their audience. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's not fair. It's not anything. It's unjust. It's just not right. And so you have people miserable because I mean, people, homeless people. I mean, the whole thing is so unfair. And the wealthy, and now we got Trump cutting the taxes on the richest people in our country.
This
So,
is actually backwards.
I mean, that capitalism is really an ism. I think it's okay to have capital. I was an economics major as an undergraduate. I mean, you have to have capital of some kind. to pay, to have to conduct business and so on. But to have an ism built around it,
Right. Right.
that's
Capitalism doesn't work
It's like
unless you have 5 to 10% unemployment, because venture capital needs a ready workforce. And so capitalism in and of itself is evil. I mean, it really is. It's there's got to
yep,
be a better
yep,
way.
yep,
Well, it's
yep.
like Phil's talked about for years, and that guys that wrote the Constitution were all real wealthy dudes, and
Yeah.
wealthy
some
white
of the
slave
language
owners.
in there just really favors big business. Let's roll,
But you could own a plantation. You don't have to impregnate your black women, but
Oh, okay. You
you
don't
could own a
have to
plan.
though.
You
Oh,
could,
okay.
and be fair. You could be
Oh,
fair and provide
sure.
a good life. And there are lots to have, lots have.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean everyone has to have the same income, but it has to be somehow close to an average. It has to be somewhere where and this is bad karma. Now, for some students of this tradition, there's no such thing as bad karma because karma is bad.
Oh,
There's no
karma's
such,
good
there's
too.
no such thing as good karma, in other words. And so
Well,
basically the job is to get rid of your karma. And so that
Right.
and so however, this is semantics that I've always felt in the long run.
karma just meant action. Karma
That's
is your action, whether
that's
it's
right.
good or bad. It creates like a wave into the universe, and it can bad karma can hit you right back, or it can come back in a wave, in a year.
Well, it's going to come back
And
with you. It's going to come back with you on the short end of the stick in your next lifetime. So, because it's going to follow you
there's
right on.
good karma too. I mean,
It's going to come
good
right on
action.
in with you. It's going to come right on with you in your next lifetime.
It doesn't take that long. You've heard of instant karma,
That's right.
haven't
Yeah, that's right. It
Ah,
doesn't. It doesn't take.
oh,
I agree. It doesn't take that long. Right. Um, and this is where if you just almost believe it, let's say, so that you figure, well, is it a bad thing to want to be karma free? To want to be fair? This is all this evolution stuff right here that we read. It's like, no, there's no mention of karma in here. He's not into that stuff, but that's okay. But definitely what he's showing us here is evolution is requires some kind of sense of fairness, some kind of virtue that that wants to be good. I mean, it's like, um, but
wasn't it? I was just thinking,
it's
so wasn't it you who told me that it doesn't really matter where you get the money, but it matters what you do with it once you've got it? I
Well, I don't know
I
if I
think
told you that because I think it does matter how you got it too.
well, yeah,
I mean,
but
ill-gotten gains are just as bad as it's
right,
but it's
but
probably double and triple the
that's right.
badness,
But a
the
lot of
more the more.
people like to play the money game, get the money.
Oh God.
But once you've gotten it, you can spread it out, and there's certainly a lot of people who do that.
Once they
Not
got it,
all of them.
they just want to go get more. They just want more and more and more.
That's
So
right.
that's how I look at.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's right.
that's the billionaires. I mean, 5 of them were standing behind Trump at his inauguration, just waiting for their share. They don't need a share. They got there. They got a gazillion times more of their share.
It's
So
just
how many billions do you need? Isn't one enough, or do you actually need 200
you
or
know
400 billion?
Remember when it's cool to be a millionaire?
Well, that's what we all wanted to be when we were kids.
well,
But
there are more millionaires now than you can shake a fist. I mean, I don't even know how many millions of dollars there are out there. I mean, they're just printing it or something. I mean, with all the billions and millions of dollars that are out there, I mean, were
oh
there
yeah,
always
most of
that
us
many?
are
Were all
millionaires.
that always there? Huh?
Look at your house. Most of us are millionaires now. We didn't even say billion when we were a kid, though. So you couldn't visualize being a billionaire.
Well, I think even being a millionaire was pretty much out of the range of
Yeah.
most of us, and now it's pretty common. It's
That's what I say.
because of all this venture
Big enough.
capitalism you're talking about and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
it's just wrong. It's all wrong, and it's hard to be virtuous in this context. And that's really what he's talking about here is
That's
virtue.
right. That's right.
And and that should really be what our goal is, to be virtuous and
Right.
and to be fair and honest and and care and have this caring right there, the first thing on that: caring, reflection, language, and habit, and maybe you think you care, but then you reflect on it for a while, and well, I really wasn't caring as much as I been told myself. I was I was
You can
caring.
be you can be caring if you have caring parents. I mean, I think I've heard that Trump never had caring parents.
Oh, that's true.
He never learned to care for anybody. He doesn't, he only cares about himself, right? I mean,
Well,
as long as you're on, he likes you only if you're on
Absolutely.
his side.
And you got the perfect witness for that too, in his niece, Mary Trump. Uh,
Um,
she's a really interesting lady. I mean, sure. I assume you guys have all seen her, and
yeah.
she's written a couple of books on him, and she shows up on liberal television now and then, and she really has Trump right there, and but nobody. This is the amity thing, You just close your mind to the truth, um, and it's. I think it's also, you might say, reasonable to recognize that sometimes on this enmity thing, there's a more right side than the other.
Oh,
Um, and but at the same time, it's very tricky for the right side, because the right side probably is ambivalent about being, you know, polarized. I
yeah.
don't think it's really comfortable for a just thinking person to like being polarized. And they're going to be thought badly of unfairly right from the start. And this is where spirituality would teach us you have to have compassion for the person that's hating you and lying about you. And I recommend a lot of people to read uh, um, the book about slavery, the great book about slavery.
Nat Turner.
No. Oh,
Howard
but he got in
Douglas.
trouble. He got in big trouble for writing that book. But um,
Baldwin.
no, slavery. Baldwin had nothing to do with slavery. Um, shit. All right, Scott, that could be your first contribution to of course, it's what the hell is it called? I mean, it's the most famous book that was ever written about evolution. It changed people's minds. It became a bestseller in the 1800s.
You mean the origin of species?
Origin of species, that's what I was going to say.
Nothing about slavery. There's nothing about slavery there.
Oh, I don't know. He didn't like slavery at all.
Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Uncle Tom's Cabin, of course.
Oh, there you
So
go.
and so
Oh,
and so
Your future soul.
and hit the most maligned, the most unfairly maligned literary character in the history of fiction is Uncle Tom. And even much as I really loved Malcolm X, and what he became, uh, he was wrong to diss Uncle Tom and to call people pejoratively Uncle Toms. This
Uncle
man
Tom.
this man was a saint. He was loved on that plantation in up north, Maryland or wherever it was, and he got sold down the river. So he went down the river, and now he's in Simon Legree's plantation, and he's adored by all the slaves. He's philosophical. He loves wisdom, and Simon Legree hates him because of that. So he just treats him with cruelty. He finally kills him. In the course of the torture that he's putting onto Uncle Tom, Uncle Tom is pitying him, which of course infuriates Simon Legree all the more until Uncle Tom finally dies and then comes back to haunt him.
That's
So-
karma right there.
Karma.
See, that's karma right there.
That's right. That's right.
And that's why he pities him. Because he knows something bad's going to happen to him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like what he's
Yeah.
telling us here, in terms of your whatever altruism, and pitying would be a form of altruism. And so whatever altruism you're sending at or feeling, it's easy to be altruistic about somebody that's generous and kind and all of that. He just probably doesn't need any altruism. But in terms of Uncle Tom, that makes Stokely Carmichael and Malcolm X and all the bunch of them. Probably not Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, I think, would understand Uncle Tom very well. Because
All
Uncle
right,
Tom,
listen.
because
We got to
Martin,
wrap this up. It's almost 3 o'clock my time, and I got something else I got to do.
oh, it's almost 6:03. I got 3 minutes to go.
You got 3 minutes. Well, all right then. I mean,
Yeah.
wrap
let me
it up.
see.
Wrap it up then. I got to go to Scotland on Wednesday.
Oh, you
Oh
poor
yeah,
thing.
oh yeah. Are you going to
I
Scotland?
know. I
How
know.
long you gonna be gone?
Tough.
I'm going to be gone almost 6 weeks.
Oh, so we're gonna miss you
But
the
I'm
whole month
going.
we're gonna miss you the whole month of October.
That's right. And
Well,
part
you
of
can.
November. Maybe I'll make the first one in November. Right.
Isn't it possible to go somewhere else and still get on Zoom?
Depends on where you are, man.
I don't know much about it.
You
You
know,
all right?
Someone
You all right?
from if
Go
someone
out
from
back or-
Tasmania,
Scott, you
Tasmania.
gonna say something, Scott?
Yeah, you can get on pretty much anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Gotta have
So-
internet.
Yeah.
excuse me, no excuses here. I'm not handling it. I'm marking down in the grade grade.
mark me down. That's right. Absent. Okay. Because
And just
I'm
remember,
going with-
absence makes the heart grow fonder. So,
there you go. There you go.
That's what am I thinking?
There's 6 of us.
You're using
and-
up your 3 minutes, buddy. You gotta get your summation
right.
in here. Come on now.
Remember,
I
you
think
know
I
how you
probably-
do that. You get
Down
the
to 2
teacher
minutes.
talking and
Looking down here for
has that
something.
story, and then the bell rings.
Yeah. And
think-
everybody
I think
goes,
we had to-
"Shh."
It is
Actually,
still a quiz on Tuesday, but
Can I just say one thing about the very end of the book?
Frankie.
all right.
I wish he hadn't used "Let It Be." He should have
I know.
used all there is love, or however that song goes. I mean, that seemed to be much
There you
more
go.
in tune with the title of his
All we
book.
need is love. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, maybe
All you need is love, right? All you need is love, and he picks "Let It Be." You don't want to let it be. You got to
That's
fight.
That's right.
I,
You wanna work
I
towards
think that's good. I think that word is good. I think one of the points here, the one I just want to look at here for a moment briefly, and I think it's back around page 205. Virtue will be triumphant, and I think there's truth to that. Not
It'll
in,
take a while.
not as it seems, not as things look, and so on. It seems to be oftentimes the opposite. But this is where evolution comes into play. This is where karma comes into play. This is where reincarnation comes into play. And health is really, we'll talk about this more when we talk about nature. Because as I see it, evolution in the natural world, the way it once was improvement and health that 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 the evolution brought about. Um, and we'll,
Yes,
we'll
I
see a
agree.
lot of it. Climate change is going to be a good example of this, which helps people. Now, see, it's one thing to be aided by evolution or by in that respect in the natural world. The human world is a little bit different. So anyway, I'll be in touch with what we're going to be doing in October. I'll probably talk to each one of you individually and get some thoughts and ideas, but I think we want to work with nature. Um, and it won't be a book. Oh, one last thing, Jamie.
All
Uh,
right.
uh, as you know, on my list of books, one of them is um, Ascent of Man,
All right.
Henry Drummond. That was
All
the
right.
first evolution book that I ever read anything of.
I'm going to Drummond Castle. That's my first stop.
Oh, very cool. Now
Well, it's my
that
clan.
book, he was a Scot. He was a Scot.
Right, it's my clan.
That
We're
book,
clansmen.
shut up, Jamie. That book was um, is available to you in paperback for $9.99. And
Really?
and it's a big book. And it was the one I have was written in the 1890s. My mother's copy is the book I'm using, but I got the paperback book. It's coming in the mail and ordered for me. You can get it very easily, very quickly. Ascent of Man by Henry Drummond, and get it, and then you'll have that book because we're going to use that book pretty soon.
Oh, there it
Okay.
is.
Oh,
Cool.
Thank
there
you,
I
sir.
don't know if I'll have time to read.
did you just buy it online?
Yeah, I bought some in the beginning when you first sent out the list.
How many
So I got
pages?
3 or 4.
How many pages is it, Chris?
Oh, this particular version is hold on a sec. All told, 144.
Oh, that doesn't seem to be the whole book.
Very small print though.
Is it?
It's very narrow. It's very.
Oh yeah. Maybe so.
Well,
It might be abridged. I don't know about that. We won't know.
I don't see anything about it saying it is.
Yeah.
It just says Ascent of Man by Henry Drummond.
Anyway, I would say get that book, and you'll have it. Henry Drummond is really good. Is really good. He's a 19th century writer, and so you have to be slow. But anyway, I love you guys, and
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Phil, so much for doing this because I find that we talk about this and I go out in my life and run into all these people and I just see examples of what we talk about all the time out there on the street. And I just kind of shake my head because I feel like I'm a philosopher. And they aren't or something. I know I don't want to be like that, but you know what I mean? I can.
They're your subjects.
And the fact,
that makes me feel good, you know.
yeah.
Right on, Frank. Way to go, man.
Okay, guys. So
All right, you guys. I will talk to you soon.
I just love looking at you and talking with you, and
Yeah,
I'll,
this is real good.
I'll miss Jamie for a while, and unless you find a way to follow what
Yeah.
Scott has to say, so Scott,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
telling
out there, man.
you can watch it any way you want, and you can just pretend that
I mean, if Finnegan can come in from Tanzania, I mean, he's got to be able to come in from Scotland.
Hey,
Oh well, I'll be thinking about you, but I got Scotland and Italy and Southern
Oh.
California.
And you
Wow.
probably won't have your computer with you. so.
Busy man.
no booze cruise this year.
Oh yeah, I'm going on the blues cruise.
The blues cruise. You're gonna go there on the blues
I
cruise?
don't drink on there. They rake you for those drinks. I'm not having it. I don't have
Anyway.
any of it.
Anyway, say hi to Judy for me. Give her a hug,
Will do.
and you
See you guys.
say Lori to me
Bye.
for me, and you say at the
Love ya.
Mexico, and you say hi, Quinn, and his family, and so on and so forth. Okay, 4. That was our lowest number.
Yeah,
But
5.
and there was one other thing where I really wanted to say this, and this has to do with Tim Finnegan. If I can, if I can find it real quickly, um, it's got to do with what he's practicing in Tasmania, and using the term when he was offered that job after all the terrible things that happened to him. Uh, and I coined the term one day with him. We're talking about engineering, and I'm trashing engineering, and I'm saying what we need is engineering with heart. And so Tim, when they offer them a job, he says, "I'll take that job if you allow me to develop a program that's about engineering with heart." And there's a chancellor and all these people, and they love the idea, and they offered it to him. And if you want to just look up the page later, you can do that on 191. Our moral evolution, progress, religion, the progress of religion meets the progress of religion meets the progress of science. Uh, and at the highest levels of those two, and so I wrote in here, wow, this sounds like engineering with heart to me.
Mhm.
Um, and so a little bit of a thought there.
Yeah,
But there won't be any reading to do. So uh, we'll be doing topics where we can bring our own thoughts and feelings and so on for the 2 meetings in October anyway. So uh, don't worry about that. But and then probably in November we'll be talking about evolution, or excuse me, reincarnation, um, and evolution. So that'll be the 2, and then maybe it'll be quite likely it might be Henry Drummond there. But I'll be able to compare the book that we ordered. It's supposed to come today, so I'll be able to compare the book we ordered, uh, Anne ordered for me, with the other copy that I have, and I'll see how they compare. Otherwise, be well, my mans, and
thanks a lot, Phil.
Chris. Okay, Chris. Or Scott, was Chris? Or he's just waving
Well,
goodbye. Okay,
I was just waiting.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll watch the Red Sox in the postseason, huh? You and I, yeah. Mr. Duran better get some hits.
He better.
He went
Come
over.
on.
He went over 15 or something like
Ah!
that in Toronto. Anyway, love you all.
Okay, see you guys.
Bye bye.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
take care.
Yeah, you got it.
Oh.
And meeting for all.